The greatest power you possess is your ability to choose. Join Lowe's Moore as he reveals how you can begin to maximize that power by exploring yourself on the deepest levels and committing to making lasting and positive changes. Get ready to achieve breakthroughs that will lead to accelerated growth and transformation, because you are now tuned in to The Blueprint.
Why the actions contradict the lamb. I'm fellowshipping when I'm with the fam. That's more relations, that's forming a fun.
Good evening and welcome back to the Blueprint Podcast. I'm your host, Lowe's Moore, and I'm excited to be with you guys for another week. I don't know about you, but I've been slowly getting into the Christmas spirit. I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but last year when I'm a Hallmark guy, last year when it started the countdown to Christmas, Hallmark countdown to Christmas, man, I was in it every day I was watching Hallmark, right? I was in the spirit. It got, as soon as Thanksgiving hit, put my Christmas tree up. Right, soon as it was over, started. I was fanatical last year when it came down to Christmas, and just getting decorations up and stuff like that. I have to say honestly, I've been a little slow this year. I don't know, but I'm in it now. I don't know about you. I enjoyed Thanksgiving. I'm looking forward to Christmas. We're hosting Christmas here at the house, and I'm excited about it. And man, I'm always excited about Christmas. Man, I see some of the there's some people that just can't get into Christmas, and it may be a lot of reasons why. Right? I would say 25, 30 years ago. Let me just go back even further. Let me go back to when I was a kid. Man, I just couldn't wait for Christmas to happen. And all the way up, as I got older and started having children, man, when you have children, Christmas, man, that's another exciting thing when you have children and you're doing Christmas for your kids, and man, it's around family. Yeah, and a lot has changed. And I know why some people, around the holidays, man, it reminds us so much of what we lost. Right, at this time, right? And I like to think that I had some wonderful and amazing moments, right, before those losses, right? But yet we're still here, right? And we're building our own legacy, right? We're building our own families, and we're building our own experiences and memories, So that's why I never really get lost, because I've enjoyed the past, right, with all the ones that were here with us, right? And I remember all the ones that are not, but I remember those moments, man, the wonderful moments and times that we had as family, right? I remember being down there with my grandparents, man, all my aunts and uncles and cousins and stuff, and a lot of them are no longer here, right? But we're creating our own legacy. We're creating our own memories, and I like to think I'm here. God has blessed me to be here, and man, I'm going to enjoy it, right? And so when I get up in the morning, man, I think about enjoying the day, because really all we have is a day, right? Because nobody's actually promised tomorrow, right? But if God allows us to wake up, right? If He allows us to wake up, man, we might think when our feet hit the floor, we ought to get up, right, and change it, whatever frequency or vibration we find ourselves in it. If we find our vibration and frequency in a good place, we get up and get running, right? We get moving, we get active, right? But if we wake up and our feet hit the floor, right? Our feet hit the floor, right? And we're not in such a great move, or if we looking at the news and it just seems like things are just crazy, and I say get our mind off those things, right, and think on the things that are good, the things that are positive, the things that are encouraging, right? Encourage yourself, get up and get moving, right? And I think last week I said, man, Zig Ziglar said this back in the day. He said, if you help enough people get what they want, ultimately you get what you want, right? And so I'm excited about that, getting up and asking myself and praying and see who comes to mind. Who should I call? Who should I say hello to? Who should I greet? Right? Become aware of somebody that might need a need fulfilled, and whoever God puts on your mind to pray for, whoever God puts on your mind to call those people and encourage them. Right? Wake up and be an encourager. Right? So I'm really excited about Christmas, and I'm excited about the podcast tonight. I think I got this is my seed. Right? This is my seed, my little basketball. I always drop it in the pond because I'm expecting a ripple effect. Right? I won't be discouraged. There's some things going on technology wise and some things going on, man. Sometimes the enemy jumps into your show, right? Because you've been putting some stuff out there. You've been putting some truth out there, right? You've been putting some God stuff out there. Right. And sometimes then, the enemy don't like that. Right. And so he tries to figure out ways to discourage you. But I'm not discouraged, and I could have some things happen technology wise, and I could be stressed out right now. But I'm not stressed out. I'm going to put it in God's hands. Right. Because I'm not doing this for me, just for me. I'm doing this to be a blessing to somebody else. I'm being blessed to be a blessing. So, again, I'm excited to be back. I want to say thank you guys for your support of the Blueprint Podcast each and every week. You may be having a problem right now if you're on Facebook and I'm not there, right? But we're on YouTube and we also on PNN, right? We're on the Phoenix National Network. We're on Roku, right? And we are also on the Fire Stick. So, hey, one situation happens, we go to another situation. One door closed, God opens another door, and we also are on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and like. Do that for me. I appreciate you. Right. So thank you. Let's get rolling right now. Let's start with the book of the week. Well, should I say books of the week? Since it's Christmas, I was thinking about like all the Christmas stories that happen. I don't know if you guys got a favorite Christmas movie. Hey, babe.
Yep.
What's my favorite Christmas
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life. That's my favorite Christmas. That is my favorite Christmas movie. It's a Wonderful Life. And for years I've been watching It's a Wonderful Life, right? Mm-hmm. And I've never actually, up until last year, I had never actually seen it in a movie theater. Right? I would have to be super old because when
they made it in color, right?
No, now they made it in color. It was in black and white, but back in the day, in the movie theater now, it's in color. But back in the day, it was in black and white, right? And so, it ends up that last year, I snuck away during the Christmas time, and I went over to Pelham Picture House, and they had It's a Wonderful Life in color at the movie theater. That was the first time I seen It's a Wonderful Life there. But we're talking about books, right? Because we're talking about the importance of books. You see there's a bunch of books behind me, right? I got my wife's book over there. My book is somewhere, right? But I got to put it back down here. And I'm doing a relaunch in the new year. But I love books, right? It wasn't always that way. But I think it's important that every family everywhere in 2025, right, that they have a library, right, in their home. Build a library in your home. Just start adding books for your kids, right, and build a library. Every successful person I know has a whole list of books you've got to read. You got to comprehend what you read. So get the books, right? So go back to those books again. Go back to those books again. There's a bunch of them up there, right? Dad's Christmas List, Parker's Elves. You know, I think that's Pete and the Black Kate. I mean, man, the day Santa got Saint. Is that the day Santa? The day Santa got sick. I ain't never read that one, but you know, there are a lot of good Christmas books out there, and take the time to read a few of them during this vacation. All right, and then here's the word of the week. The word of the week is home. Right, and this show is gonna be amazing because not everybody has a home. Right, and even if you live in somewhere, it doesn't always mean it's a home. Right, but everybody wants to have a home, a gathering place for family to join together, to laugh. Think about that, to laugh. A place where you will always be surrounded by those who love you. A place or feeling of belonging, right? Called home, right? And then there's
What's it Luther say? A house is not a home.
Yeah, don't sing that too loud because Facebook might hear you. Not just yeah. A cheer is just a cheer until there's someone sitting there. Oh man.
Oh,
Yeah, a house is not a home. You got me going. Hold on. Oh,
Here
man.
you go.
Oh man. And here's my Pierce Hopper affirmation quote moment. It says, in our home, we are kind. We are all important. We stay positive. We always do our best. We are respectful. We make good choices. We work hard. And we have lots of fun.
Yeah, I'm glad you read that off your phone because I don't care read not one word on that thing right there. I was like, what in the world? Okay.
All right.
That's good. The lots of fun part. That's
Lots
good.
of
I
fun.
like that.
Yeah, lots of fun. And then here's my music and movie of the week. Right. And right, Moana 2. I mean, I don't know if you guys got a chance. Moana, the first one, my grandkids absolutely loves it. I've probably seen this thing about 15, 20 times now. Because every time they put Moana on. So I took them, right, after school a few weeks ago. And check this out. Check this craziness out. A month before, I thought Moana 2 came out. I bought tickets on my phone. I said, on this Tuesday, I'm going to take my kids to see Moana 2. I picked them up along with my youngest daughter, Sherelle, and my youngest granddaughter, right? Lainey. Picked up the other two, Hartley and Dakota. We got in the car right after school and ran to the movie theater over in New Rochelle and got there. And the guy said, hey, this is not to November 27th. Tuesday, November 27th. I had to wait a whole month. I had bought the tickets a month ahead of time and I had to wait a whole month to see Moana 2. And you know what? It was worth it. Now, Lainey had to go home. I mean, she cried the whole movie. And so 1.5, Sherelle said, I got to take her home. She was not trying to hear the dark, right? But me and Dakota and Hartley, we sat there and watched Moana 2. Music was amazing, right? The movie was amazing. The songs were amazing. It was a good time. That's my soundtrack, right? Mm-hmm. That's my music of the week. And then this is my in my movies or television shows. But in this, I know we all would remember Frosty the Snowman, right? Right? Frosty the Snowman, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, right? And then the Abominable Snowman, right? And then what else? The Little Drummer Boy, and every one of, not my favorite, maybe it's somebody else's favorite, but it always came on no matter what. You didn't have a choice if you wanted to look at a cartoon. Charlie Brown's Christmas.
Is that the heat miser, the snow miser down at the
Yep,
bottom?
that's what it is.
I'm Mr. Heat Miser. I'm Mr. What is that?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? Oh, yes.
I remember Luther.
We're going to have to watch it, though.
Yeah, and that's my music and movie of the week. And here's my person of the week. Emily Bear, right, is a Grammy and Emmy award-winning composer and the writer for Moana 2. She was on the morning show. Man, this young lady is gifted. I mean, she's done some stuff with Beyonce. This young lady is gifted. If you get a chance, if you wanna see somebody who's gifted, I mean, look up her resume. Look her up and see a young lady. I think she's like 21 years old.
Wow.
And she just wrote and composed all the songs for Moana 2.
Wow.
Yeah, awesome. That's my person of the week. I was like, that's awesome. At 21, 22 years old, man. Yeah, I mean, just awesome. So
there you go.
And then if you haven't seen it yet, you heard us talk about it. Ain't Too Proud. The Life and Times of the Temptation. This is the Broadway national tour. Ain't Too Proud to Beg. They're going to be in Wilmington, North Carolina. This week coming up, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. My wife and I, we're leaving tomorrow at some time. We're going to go visit our family in Fayetteville, North Carolina. My brothers and sisters and all the family in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And then we will be traveling, right? We'll be traveling to Wilmington, North Carolina on the 19th to see the show Ain't Too Proud. So
yeah,
awesome.
The cool part about that is, like this week, he always looks for a day that he could just try to like take a breather. And every time he tries to take a breather, he goes, "Mommy, do you have somebody coming to the show?" I go, "Mm-hmm." Or do you have somebody coming to this show? Yes. So he's trying to get a break, but he can't get a break because I always got somebody coming to the show.
He's trying to take a day off. Every time we see a picture after the show, he's taking a picture with the person that came to the show.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Awesome.
So he has, so several of my friends went to see him on yesterday and today, and then he said, "Is anybody coming to the show on Tuesday?" I was like, "No." He goes, "I just think my body is so sore." I was like, "Oh, whatever."
Oh man.
But he's got people coming on Wednesday and Thursday, so if you gotta go see him Wednesday or see him Thursday, and then he'll be good.
Yeah, awesome. And so let's get rolling. I think that's it, right? Any birthdays?
Nelson's birthday, but I didn't put a picture up on him, so my nephew Nelson, Big Nelson.
Big Nelson's birthday. Happy birthday, Nelson, man, and many, many more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? I know you're enjoying some nice weather down there in
We'll
Virginia.
see him Christmas. He's coming to be with us Christmas.
Awesome. Yeah. All right, so let's show this
Video?
our video,
Okay.
and we'll be in the show.
Okay. Not gonna music and then it's gonna cause us a
No.
Now hiring. People who see potential within every child. Those who see the strength within every family. Change makers. Drawn to work with purpose. By working in child welfare, you're working with your community to keep families together. You're working with purpose. Apply today.
When you do see the changes that you are making and the impact that you're having on people's lives and on the community that you serve, that's powerful. Our goal is actually to keep families together. It's a very important job, very rewarding job, and I love it.
Wow, I want to welcome to the show Chris Wong. I mean, I always say Chris. I want to call you Chris so bad. Since I met you, it's Craig Wong. I've been wanting to call you Chris. Even when I wrote your name, I was looking at Craig, and I was saying Chris. I don't know if there's another Chris out there.
I got a cousin named Chris.
Oh yeah. Well, Craig, welcome to the Blueprint. And yeah, I was watching that commercial several times, man. And I think a lot of people. First of all, I want to welcome you to the Blueprint podcast. And thanks for joining me this evening. You know, I was telling you before we started. Every time around this time of the season, this holiday season, you know, we always think. I like to think of the good. You know,
Yeah.
we always like to just focus. We're not going to focus on anything negative, but it's impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, because last year I think we had a show as we were in this season, right? Around because we can forget that even though we may be doing well, right? There are a lot of people that aren't doing well, and so we were having a conversation. I want to thank Howie Smith for introducing us,
Yep.
and he was talking to me about you and some of the things that you were doing, and around something that we'll talk about a little bit later is fathering. This is a fathering initiative and a conference that's coming up next year.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that, we're working on hopefully trying to get Denzel to get involved with this county conference. And I ended up, I did send him an email with the information that you shared with me. Now it would be up to him to kind of respond. But I don't, when people ask me, a lot of people call me about, can you get Denzel? Can you do this? Can you do that? And a lot of times I'm like, nah, I don't feel led to. But with this around fathering, and I know that how seriously he takes, being a father, how important it is for him to be a father. I think it's something that may interest him, and I think it's really an important situation as we go into 2025.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we had talked about, you had mentioned that was one thing, but something that sparked me in our conversation was what you were doing, and you said something to me about, I want to end homelessness, and that touched me, and I said, like, man, I got to give Craig a call, and because it's something that we need to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's not a time, even in the holidays, to put it on the shelf.
Sure.
So I definitely want to welcome you, and we want to get to know you a little bit better, and also, we have a friend in common, right? Your pastor is Pastor Richard Garner,
Yes.
right? And Redeem
Yes.
Church of Christ, and I've known Pastor Garner for forever.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, I'll tell you a quick story about Pastor Garner. I grew up in the projects, and he was the playground teacher in 4th Street. I don't know if he told you this or not. and he would always be reading a book. Mm-hmm. And we would see him there, and he would put out the basketballs in 4th Street, and we grabbed the basketballs and we'd go start playing. And somebody happened to mention to me that I was in the process of my journey of trying to play basketball, and they mentioned to me that, you see the guy over there reading the book? He said, that's Richard Garner. He's one of Mount Vernon's greatest basketball players. I was like, oh yeah. And he played for the University of Manhattan, or Manhattan College, right? And I was like, yeah, so I and then I heard that he had gotten drafted or about to be drafted by an NBA team and an ABA team, Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks.
Yep, that's right.
Right. And so now that intrigued me because I wanted to go to the NBA. So I go over to him, right? And I look down and Richie is reading a Bible in the playground. So I say, I heard you were a great basketball player and you're going to go to the NBA. And he's like, nah, I'm studying to be a minister. Over the NBA? I said. He was like, yeah, I'm going into the ministry, and I'm not really pursuing the basketball, What I thought was intriguing, because that was my whole thing, man.
Yeah.
You getting drafted by the New York Knicks, Indiana Pacers, and but yeah, he was loyal to and he was committed to God.
And he still is.
Yeah, still, yeah. Nothing's changed.
Nothing.
Nothing's changed. So talk to me about, for you, talk to me about the, family, the importance of family, growing up, and because you're actually doing God's work right now,
Yes.
right? And so talk to me about what, in terms of growing up in your family, mom and dad, siblings, and talk about the importance of family and them instilling the importance of faith in education.
Sure. I'm gonna work backwards.
Okay.
So you mentioned Moana too. So my wife and our 3 kids brought 4 other kids to go see Moana too. One of them is 2 years old, the youngest, and then the oldest is 11, like my son. And so we was all in the movie theater, popcorn, soda everywhere. I would hate to be the person that had to clean up after we left, but it was a great movie. I agree with you 100%. It was worth it. We had a great time, and that epitomizes what we are. We're about family,
Yes.
So I'll go back. My family migrated to this country when I was about 10 years old from Jamaica, and we grew up in Mount Vernon. My parents, my mother and father, they worked very hard. They came here to make a better life for themselves. My mother, they both still living, thank God. She cleaned houses. She did what she had to do. She earned her nursing degree, RN. My father did his work, and they instilled in us the value of work, the value of faith in God, the value of family commitment that has shaped my life. And these are some of the things that I bring to my work. You and I talked a little bit earlier about, family and how, I didn't appreciate my family as much as when I started working with a lot of broken families, when I came to the Department of Social Services, and I started to see how families were separated for various reasons, where there was abuse, there was neglect, there was homelessness, there was substance abuse, there was mental health concerns. So many things that plague our community, plague families and rip families apart. And so it's just the importance of valuing family, man, thanking God, because by his grace, we could have went there.
Yeah.
As time went on, God has blessed me with a wonderful wife. And we have 3 kids, ages 11, 10, and 7, about to be 8. And, we about family, man. God first, family second. That's our motto.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. And no, you got to go back to where Chris is at.
Craig is at?
Craig is at. I don't know why. I'm not changing your name tonight. I don't know. Maybe. No, you already had 3 kids. So I'm not going to say you're going to have a Chris. No.
Okay. You're going to have to go. You have to
Oh, man. She going to put me to work over here.
You got. I'm looking.
You looking?
Oh, I see. Wait a minute.
Oh, no.
That one?
There you go.
Yeah. You got it.
Oh, look at that cute little.
That picture was taken some years ago, but it's still one of my favorites. We were leaving church that day. I think it was Easter while the girls are dressed up like that or something. But that's one of my favorites.
Wow. And now how old are they now?
You
Are the
said
kids now?
11, 10, and
11?
7.
My son in the middle there, he's 11. My daughter standing beside him, she's 10, and the baby is now 7.
Wow. And man, I don't know why all our boys end up with a picture like that. I mean, they be doing their Power Ranger stuff, you know. They are action hero, you know.
Uh-huh. That's it.
Oh man. And yeah, we do love family, man. It's good to see. Yeah. And so talk about like growing up and then now getting into high school. What was your thoughts like as you were growing up? Did it enter your mind that you was going to be in the field that you're in now? I mean, when you talk about academics and was that your thought after high school, graduating high school, and then going on to do what?
Lowe's, I'll be honest with you, man. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Some kids are focused. Some kids know exactly what they love, what they had a passion for. I thought I was going to be a physical therapist until I got to college and I saw the curriculum, and I was like, you know what? This is not going. I'm not going to be a physical therapist. But we hung in there. I thank God for my mother who guided me and instructed me and helped me, and she actually brought me around some folks to help me determine what it is that I wanted to do. Graduated from Mount Vernon High School, 1992. Went on to college, Fairleigh Dickinson for a couple years, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Then I went down to Maryland, University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, and kind of zeroed in. My major was rehabilitation services, which dealt a lot with substance abuse, mental health concerns. And from there came back to New York and just kind of was, I can't say that I knew exactly what I wanted to do, but one thing led after another. And it's like, somehow God just directs you and you end up in working with developmentally disabled adults. Then started to work with an organization that worked with homelessness. And then I came over to the county, and going over to the county, it just opened me up to all the other aspects of family that need help, whether it's financial, whether it's homelessness, whether it's child welfare concerns, mental health concerns. And being the person that I am, I think you mentioned it earlier, it's ministry. You're helping folks, you're serving them, you're helping them to deal with the challenges of life and things that will rip them apart, things that, destroy folks. And so, with the Department of Services, Social Services, been able to move around and just being able to help people. And it's been quite rewarding. Some people, get into their field for various reasons, which are, valid. But this for me, being able to help somebody get some food, or being able to help a family stay together, or being able to help someone to be housed, being able to just give them some advice, make a referral or what have you. It's been very rewarding for me. And so I'm definitely grateful, working for a great organization like the county, the benefits, the people. The work is not always easy. I tell folks all the time, but it is rewarding, especially where I am now.
Wow. And when you started in it, you said you started where?
I started in child welfare, and which as you know, is abuse, neglect, preventive services, foster care, CPS. Families that have some issues that are going on that could, split them apart if they're not, corrected or addressed. Where kids can come into foster care if there aren't some measures taken by the parents to address certain concerns, based on whatever the situation is.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that because when I first started at the Boys and Girls Club, right? We just think, as you get members to come in to the club, and you're thinking like, hey, normal kid, normal behaviors,
Yeah.
right? And then so, some years later, about 3 or 4 or 5 years later, we started getting an influx of kids, right? And we noticed that parents were coming in, and they were coming in with 3 or 4, 5 kids. I'm like, man, they got a lot of kids, you know. I'm thinking like, okay. And then you realize that their behavior was totally different,
Yeah.
right? And so when you address it, like, hey, who's the parents? Who are these kids? You know, and oh, they're foster kids,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And then you realize, okay, these individuals, parents, are taking on these new responsibilities. You know, kids from foster care. There's a difference between a foster kid and a foster care. You know, those who actually adopt kids, right, and those who just take them in until a certain age.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that was pretty interesting to see. Once we started realizing we started getting more of an influx of kids, we had to change how we provided service, right?
Yeah.
Because we had to identify that, kids with different behavior problems, outbursts. Just different things going on. And so as a staff, we had to now start to think about how do we address
Sure.
the different kids that we were actually getting into the boys and girls club. And then you have to become more aware of, like you said, abuse. When kids come to you, you have to be aware. Do you see any physical part? Is there any physical harm? There's a lot of things that we had to become more knowledgeable about as we address kids that were coming from social service.
Sure.
And even in our summer program, because, getting a normal kid and then all of a sudden now getting kids from social service, where they were looking for places, to have kids go, particularly during the summer months, where you were getting influxes of, 50, 60 kids, right? Although the resource was good, right? We weren't necessarily trained to be able to manage
Yeah.
that number of kid with behavior situations.
Yeah.
So we had to begin to minimize those numbers so we can do a good job, working with young people and helping them develop.
Sure.
And then we started to become a place where we started to have some success, right? Because of the way the way we dealt with kids, the way we entrusted kids. The way we dealt with parents. And over the years, Mr. James Jones, Andrea Brown, Calvin Jones, all those, Mr. Joseph Coleman, all those, they had been dealing with troubled kids for years. So they had pretty much, and they worked in the school district.
Yeah.
So they pretty much knew what they were dealing with every single day, plus now after school or during the summertime. So it is challenging.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. And it is God's work. To be able to not only deal with the kids you're servicing, but also the parents, the families as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's ministry, man. You think about, how traumatic it is, thinking back to myself as a child, how traumatic it would have been for me to be taken away from my environment, my home, my school, my family, all that I've known. And so the mindset and the adjustment that a child that's not even equipped yet to make decisions has to make, it is quite traumatizing,
Yeah. And so then you go from child welfare and you enter into.
I went into employment. So folks that have any kind of public assistance case or benefits, there are work requirements that they have to follow through with. And so you work with these folks to empower them to get employed, to get job training, and to really become, the whole goal in the Department of Social Services is to become self-sufficient. Whether it's a child welfare situation, you want to get the kids home, back with family in a safe environment, where they don't need our involvement. We don't want to be involved unless we have to be. And so self-sufficiency is our goal, as it stated in our mission statement. Um, and it's the same with employment. You're helping folks to get employed, giving them the tools, the resources, training, job coaching, all those kind of things to get them to be self-sufficient and to be able to achieve, things for their family, income, growth, stability. And so that's where I went, from child welfare to employment aspect of DSS.
Yeah, I would have to say employment is tough. I mean, I remember one of my besides the I mean, real jobs. I didn't really consider the boys and girls when I was a club counselor as a real job. I mean, I got paid a little bit of money, but I was dealing with kids and I was in the boys and girls club. But one of my first jobs was, I think the county had a partnership with Grace Baptist Church, right? And so one of my responsibilities coming from college, I worked for Grace Baptist Church with Reverend Richardson, hired me and a couple of other young people out of college, right, during the summertime, and I would our responsibility was to go to the street and get and offer people jobs. One person was to find the job. Con Edison was given jobs back then. IBM. It was just all sorts of jobs, and so me and this young lady Nadine Ramsey, our responsibility was to go find the people for the jobs. So we go to summertime now. And nobody trying to go inside. I mean, so you go to the corner and you're saying, look, hey, Con Edison is, got $15 an hour jobs, entry level jobs. I mean, and you're telling them about these things, and these guys are standing on the corner, they looking at you like, what? Do I look like I need a job? We couldn't give away a job during the summertime. Yes, I know it had to be some challenges.
Yeah, it's challenging, man. I mean, you find some folks that are motivated, you find some folks that are ready, and those are the folks, man, you just pour into and say, listen, man, I got this for you, I got that for you. And they're the ones that become successful. That's that motto that says you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. But you have some folks that are really motivated, and those are the ones that can take advantage of all the services and really do well for themselves and their family.
Right.
The resources are there.
Yeah, they just gotta want it. Yeah, they just gotta want the work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And then from there, you go from trying to find jobs to.
I went over to homeless services as a program administrator, and working with primarily HUD grants. So the county receives federal funding to help place people into permanent housing, and so we had to administer those grants and contract with various organizations to provide housing for folks. And so we transition them from the shelter system into permanent housing, again, so that they become independent. And from there, I became a manager, which is what I am now. And, overseeing a team of folks, working as part of a team to working with contracting our shelters. The county, I should explain, the county is responsible for homeless services in Westchester County. We either own the shelters or we work with organizations who rent shelters, and then we contract with those organizations to provide all the services for those individuals who need homeless services, families, individuals. And so that's what I do now. And it's a lot of different aspects to it. So you let me know how deep or any questions you might have. I don't want to overwhelm you with details about it, but that's what we do. Basically, we manage homelessness. Anybody that's homeless, regardless of where they are in Westchester County, it's our role to try to help them.
Right, and I mean, how do you find out, who's homeless? I mean, you can go to a lot of places and just see people unless, you know, on the street,
Yeah.
you know, in a playground. And I remember when I was doing something. I don't know if you remember when we were doing the peacekeepers,
Mm-hmm.
and we had about I don't know how many men was with us. I don't know, 200 men, and then it kind of dwindled over time. And but I remember being out there, you know, whether it's snowing, raining, sleet, cold, hot, we were out there on the corners, and you know, just engaging
Yeah.
with the community, and particularly those who were just sitting out there, or just, you know, every all day long. And then after they got kind of comfortable with us, you know, being present all the time, having conversations with them, and you know, some would sneak away and say, hey man, you know, this is before they fixed Memorial Field. You know, this guy was like, hey man, you know, I've been living in Memorial Field.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there something that I that can be done? And
Sure.
at that time, we had a number of men that were in different career areas, like social services, or you know, people dealing with child care, or however they would ask, the community would ask us about. We had somebody that we could put them in contact with, if they were even doing you know, drugs, or having alcohol or drug problems, we could provide, you know, help for them. And yeah, I mean, that was rewarding, you know, when you talk
Yeah.
about ministry,
Yep.
right? To be able to help somebody in need. I
Yeah.
mean, really, truly in need, and we were able to provide that, you know, from food to clothing, you know, to lining them up with people who could find shelter. Everybody always wanted a job. I mean, yeah, give me a job, man. You know, and at the time, they're either drunk or high or whatever it is. And I said, look, man, we all got reputations out here.
Yeah.
Right now, I have to be honest with you. You want me to be honest with you, or not? You know, yeah, you can be honest with me. I said, man, you would have to figure out how to clean yourself up first, right? Because we can't send you to a job site and say you want a job, man, and you high,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you know, you're gonna have to get some services to help you with. I'm not saying you have an addiction. I'm just saying you high now. I mean, you drunk now.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to do that, right, then you need to see that guy right there, right? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, sure.
yeah, because if you willing to do that, if you that, you know, what's that thing you used to say about when a person's, I guess, at their wits end or their last.
When the
Rock
pain
bottom.
of where you are becomes greater than the fear of where you're going, you'll move.
Yeah, that I didn't say it like that, but I'm just saying, like, if you at that point,
Yes. Yes.
right, that you really want this help, see that person there, they can help you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've had a couple of people that we were able to help, you know, out there, because that's what they wanted. They were willing to change.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a
So-
quick question for you, Craig.
Yes.
How did the pandemic impact your work assignment, the things that you had to do, and what innovative things did you have to put in place because of the impact of the pandemic and COVID-19?
That's a very good question. So the pandemic did for us as an organization, in my opinion, it made us mobile. We automatically started working from home. The technology was there. We did a lot of Zoom calls. We had to figure out how do we connect with folks, because you were isolated. You were, social distancing. So the emphasis was not so much meeting in person as we had done prior to the pandemic. So we had to figure out, okay, how am I going to make this contact with this individual? Because our work is about making contact with folks to be able to help them, meet the needs. And so we would do Zoom calls. We would, we have WebEx in the county. We would make phone calls. We wear our masks. We had we would distribute, material to all our shelters, masks and hand sanitizers, and really try to upgrade the system to make folks safe, with the pandemic. So that was a big deal for us. It made us mobile. it forced us to think differently and work differently in order, because the pandemic was here. That didn't mean the needs of people just stopped. you know the
Right.
pandemic, it stopped us in our tracks. However, people were still in need. So we really had to look at how we couldn't meet people in big groups anymore. You couldn't have everybody congregating. So we really had to look at how we did business and shift. So in a good way, the pandemic to me really forced us to evolve and to become more technologically advanced. And so that was some of the good aspects of it. But Lowe's, I want to go back to a question you also asked in reference to, how do we help folks who are homeless? You know, we have folks that are street homeless who you referenced, those that are sleeping on the street, they don't have anywhere to go. And then you have folks who become evicted, or, they have a fire, or they have a divorce, or something happened in their income that caused them now not be able to pay their rent. And so they get evicted. The best thing, or the first thing folks would do, is come to one of our district offices. We have an office in Mount Vernon, we have an office in Yonkers, we have an office in White Plains, and we have an office in Peekskill. So if they don't have a place to live, or they don't have enough food to eat, or they need medical assistance, um, they need help with their Con Ed bill, whatever the case may be, moving, they would go into our district office and they would apply for services. And that's the place that they would go first to get assistance. Now, for those folks that are on the street, they're a little bit more difficult, because some of those folks, they want to be on the street. That's where they feel safe. And then add to it, as you mentioned, the substance abuse, the mental health concerns. That's where they want to be. And so with that population, we actually have outreach workers within Westchester County, not necessarily DSS workers, but organizations that we work with, and they go engage those folks. That's their job, to do what you guys were doing, to engage them and build a relationship and build that trust, as you were talking about, to say, listen, let me help you find a place to stay. Let me help you get permanent housing. Let me help you go to the district office to get you some benefits. And so we have folks that go out and engage these folks. And the other thing to it is that we have what we call drop-in shelters. So there's shelters scattered throughout Westchester County, that folks can find out more about from the website that I sent you. That folks can go and sleep. They don't have to sleep on the street. They go in, no questions asked, no money is necessary, no paperwork is necessary. The county provides a place for folks to rest their head. Male and female drop-in shelters. So in essence, they don't need to sleep on the street. And again, some people prefer. That's their safety. That's their safe zone. That's what they feel is best for them. But we have these resources available for folks, because we don't want folks on the street, especially in the winter.
Right.
Go to the drop-in. You have a bed to sleep in. They'll give you some food. You can take a shower, and then you can go back out in the morning.
Right. I mean, how, they can go there every night.
Yeah.
And here's a question. In terms of the migrants, or the whole thing on the immigration, and the influx of people, coming in from other areas, or I mean, the situation where people are being bused to different cities.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that I walk a lot, particularly in Mount Vernon. I walk all over the place. But I mean, when there was an influx of people coming in, I was walking through Mount Vernon, and there were people walking with no shoes on, no coats on. I mean, during the course of the winter, I'm like, what's wrong? And I'd say, as I'm walking by, I see a guy just, floating around. I'm like, man, you all right? I mean, I happen to be talking to somebody. I seen the guy come down with no shoes. He got no socks on.
Yeah.
I mean, and he looked like he's dazed. And I'm like, man, you all right? And he just looked at me and just kept walking. How was that impact the whole in terms of Westchester County?
So Westchester County has not received that influx like the city.
Right.
And primarily because our guidelines, our laws are different than the cities. The city's a sanctuary city. they're required, they chose to meet the needs of immigrants that come in, and they service them. Depending on their situation, if they come to Westchester County, we can't necessarily place them in a shelter like we would somebody who is documented. That doesn't mean we can't see bus loads coming, but we have not had to deal with that yet. We are talking about it, and we want to be prepared if that happens. But we have not had to deal with the challenges that the city has, had to deal with when it comes to the migrant population and that just overwhelming flood of folks coming to the city.
Wow. And I think you see Kevin Bunch down there. He said, yes, I work with the mobile crisis team in Yonkers.
Yeah,
Most homeless, I say on behalf, prefer to live that way.
yeah, yeah.
They use
It's
shelter
like you
when they need
said,
it.
you see somebody walking down the street without shoes or socks. It's not necessarily because he can't get it, because he might have some mental health challenges there that's saying, this is how I want to live. you know if they go and their resources available, there's a lot of great organizations out there who will provide. You have soup kitchens, you have food pantries, you have organizations who donate clothing, and various resources. Well, Westchester is it's a wonderful city, you
Right.
know um, and you can go down to the district office and apply for benefits. So there's a lot of resources for folks, if they want or they choose to take advantage.
I think the question Kevin has down there says, is it true that over 40% of all homelessness in the USA are veterans? I
Yeah.
mean,
I would say in Westchester County, that is not the case. Can't really speak for the nation. Of course, we know veterans. They're coming back from, their tours, and they have PTSD and they have other concerns similar to our population. But in Westchester County, I don't believe that to be the case.
right. But are some of the veterans in Westchester County struggling like that?
There are a lot of veteran organizations that we work with, the VOA, and Westchester actually has done an awesome job with connecting our veterans to resources. We have a meeting that meets every Friday, that focuses on all the homeless veterans in Westchester County, and they've done a tremendous job in housing veterans and catering to that population, and bringing the various groups in on case situations to get them housed. So that is definitely a target population that we've served, and we've done actually a great job of housing veterans.
Yeah, I remember one time being at the club because, like you said, you mentioned earlier in our conversation that sometimes people financial situations changes,
Yeah,
right? And because I was invited, I don't know why I was invited, but I was invited to I think it was a family counselor, and they were counseling, and they were having a discussion around a parent that lost a job. Kids were doing well, parent was doing well, they were in their home, and her job situation changed. Right, she lost her job. In return, she ended up losing her home
yeah,
and her housing, and then she ended up in the shelter. And they said, "What do you think we should do about it?" I was thinking about, like, why don't you try to get her another job? I mean, because I think that because that was the real key. She had a
yeah,
good
yeah,
job. She had the qualifications. She had the education. She had everything. And then there was turnover in the job situation. It was just a matter of, if she's qualified already, if she has skills already, then how do we find her a job?
yeah,
How do we get her back into her career, right? And then that
yeah.
way, she's not in the shelter. She can provide
Sure.
for, and then there's a process. Of course, some temporary housing that she can get in with her kids until the job begins to pay dividends.
Yeah, yeah. You're absolutely right, Lowe's. And a lot of times it's the lack of knowledge. Like, you have some great organizations around, the career centers, and last week I went to a function in Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon is initiating an empowerment program, and right on Mount Vernon Avenue, great program. And so you have organizations, when you lose employment, I could go in there if I lose employment. Resume writing, interview coaching for interviews, job leads, and sometimes it's just connecting with those services right away. And sometimes it doesn't happen for whatever reason, and it just snowballs into a difficult situation. But part of it is really getting the information out there to folks that need it. And that's one of the things that our district offices does when folks go there, with their needs. We try to help them. If we can't help them, then we can be able to refer them to, okay, we have this organization over here who can help you. This organization can help you with this issue that you might have. So sometimes it's just that the information, folks don't know where to get it, or it's not readily available for whatever reason. But sometimes the lack of information causes, a disconnect, and unfortunately, a negative situation.
Right. And I know you're in Westchester, but I was looking at some things, in terms of homelessness in America. This thing is crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
Looking at some of the data, some of the things that are out there. I you know I haven't found them yet, but it was a guy I played basketball with. I had seen him recently, and over the years, and he actually came by the Boys and Girls Club, and he was talking to me about a friend of ours that was working for the Dole Center, and I went up to see him, and when I got up there, evidently, he wasn't in his right head, even though he had the job.
yeah,
Even though he was working the job, and I knew something was definitely wrong when I said, "Hey, man, how you doing?" He looked at me with strangely. I said, "I better leave this guy alone, right?" But he ended up, under a bridge somewhere in the Bronx. Yeah, I just think, when those things happen, man, I know that everybody's trying to do the best they can to be able to help people.
yeah,
But, I'm just thinking about Christmas, man, and thinking about the holidays and thinking about people all across America
sure.
who are in shelters.
Yep.
And I know here's the crazy part is during this time, like Thanksgiving, I'm sure that there's a lot of services provided around Thanksgiving and getting food to people. And
Yeah.
I'm sure that every day I know Grace does a wonderful job. There's another church right off of, I think, Sanford Boulevard. They provide food.
Yeah. Hmm.
And there are a lot of places providing food and services, but it's just so many people, right, that you don't even know that may be struggling.
Yeah, yeah. You're so right about that. I mean, I live in White Plains, and the school that my kids go to, they have a food pantry, and the line sometimes is just around the block. And I even use that as a learning experience for my kids, and I'm like, listen, you see these folks, they're just trying to get some food where we can go to Whole Foods, or we can go to ShopRite, or we can go whatever, and God has blessed us enough to be able to buy food. But look at these folks. We need to be grateful. We need to be able to help, and however we can, and just to let them to understand that not everybody has it like we have it. And just let a learning experience. Homelessness is a major issue across the country, without a doubt. And you know, it, there hasn't been a answer for the whole nation. However, I think things like this, what you're doing, I commend you, Lowe's, for having me to come on and talk about it, is to bring awareness to it. Because we're in it, we see it, but not everybody believes it's an issue. Because they're insulated. They don't see the lines at the soup kitchens and the food pantries. They don't see the folks because where they live or what have you. They don't see the folks sleeping on the street. But it's an issue, and that's the first step, I think, is to bring awareness to it, and then to educate folks. Like, some of the things I'm trying to share here. You see somebody on the street, listen, there's a drop-in. Let me pull it up from the website, the county's website, and I'll give you the address. You can go, you can sleep, and then leave. And they'll be able to also, they'll engage them about referrals and different things, and some services that might help them. Homelessness, again, it accompanies a lot of different things: mental health, substance abuse, um, PTSD, all kinds of things that they're treatable. They can get help if they are open to it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when you talk to other people that are working in that field in terms of going out, do they find it to be difficult? I mean, sometimes just people just either in survival mode or they just, kind of done with this, and trying to convince people that, what sometimes to do is take work. Like I
Yeah.
find, when you addressing the struggles of academics in black and brown neighborhoods, right? And a lot of it is sometimes people just lazy,
Hmm.
right? And sometimes people just they have real issues in regards to learning ability, right? And we need to be able to find out what those disabilities are, right? My wife and I, we had our youngest son Isaiah was born with spina bifida, so he's been in a wheelchair, all his life, right? And I'm thinking about like when there's a lot of things we didn't know we became aware of, right, Trees? We became aware of like all the
Occupational
services,
Yeah, yeah,
therapies and
occupational therapy, speech therapy, you know, IEPs,
yeah,
and
yeah,
all those things. That all these services that he was provided with.
yeah,
Those benefits that help him grow. And it almost seems like almost every kid needs an IEP. I mean, they need to be not evaluated so that they can be put on some kind of medicine or something,
hmm,
right? But evaluated because there may be learning disabilities. They may be
sure,
because if you don't take care of it, ultimately, that's what you see. The population that's on maybe on your street corners.
yeah, yeah,
And some of the things we were talking about at one of my other podcasts, we was talking about early childhood trauma, right? Because somewhere show it, if it's not resolved in childhood, right, then it acts out somewhere down as you get older. It impacts you physically and mentally and so forth and so on. So a lot of people are not dealing with be able to deal with the tragedy that they had as a
sure,
young
sure.
person. Yeah, that impacts someplace else. I mean, and there is not a lot of services when it comes to dealing with kids with, we it's something I talked to the National Boys and Girls Club about because it became so alarming when all of the social service kids was coming, and this is back years. So now we here during the pandemic, and now we're saying, okay, it's mental health situation. Now there's all these services for mental health issues around young people,
Yeah,
and around adults. But it was happening. It was happening a long time ago. I
sure, sure.
mean, we just didn't deal with it because we
Yep.
wanted in our organizations normal kids,
Hmm.
right? And we're not thinking about the kids that are coming from social services, coming from foster care. We're not even addressing that issue.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
You
you're
know.
right, man. Think about it when we were growing up. Man, if the service that exists now existed back then, maybe they'd evaluated me.
Well, yeah, that without a doubt, yeah.
Well, but things happen. You got it together. So I got it together somehow with the support of family and friends. But it just kind of swept through. My experience now is that they're a little bit more cognizant of what's going on with kids, and the IEPs and the evaluations, and I guess depending on what school system you're in, some are better than others. But it's there now for the kids, which I'm grateful for. That we kind of missed out on in my day, but
Craig, I have to ask you a question. What's the from shelter to finding housing? What would you say is the the time frame that it takes from a person to go from shelter living to permanent housing?
That's a really good question, and that's a hard question to answer because it varies. Like I said, there's some folks that come in, they had a fire, but they have a good job and they maintain their job. So now it's just a matter of them finding a place, getting some assistance from DSS, and they move right out. You have some folks that are, you know, they come into the shelters and they're not as motivated. Everyone has a part to play, to do your housing logs, to really get on a list for various opportunities, and to talk with your caseworker and to do the legwork. And it could be years, it could be months. Some people could be a month, it could be 6 months, it could be a year. But it really, a lot of it depends on the availability. Some of it depends on the availability of housing resources, Section 8 and various other subsidies. Folks need that. Sometimes you have more times than not. And then, and also, again, the other piece is, folks taking their responsibility to do the legwork, to get, while you're in the shelter, there's services there. They're trying to get folks employment. They're trying to get them job readiness programs. And so there are some things that they can do to prepare them for that next step. If they don't get a subsidy, then guess what? I'll be able to have a job that can help me pay the rent. So there's no one. It's really hard. Everybody's scenario is different.
Yeah, and I remember back in the day, man, they were trying to use all kind of programs back in the day. I don't know if you remember midnight basketball. Actually, the government provided funding because there were so many, particularly African American men, that were on street corners, right? But they loved to play basketball. So they had this basketball league that started at 12 at night or 12 in the morning, right? But in order to play, you had to sit in on, if you're in addicted, drugs, alcohol, here's the way to help. Career development, job training, employment training, all those things came with it in order for them to play basketball. It did well for a while, right? Because the carrot was like, I get to play basketball, right? And I would say a small percentage of them probably took advantage of it, and a lot of them probably didn't. They end up going back to the corner. Right, and here's a question for you. What do you think the church could do better in regards to how we manage homelessness?
I think that's a good question, man. I think if we got out the building, what I'm saying, if we get out the four walls and really engage, like Jesus said, go into the land, the harvest is ripe. You know what I'm saying? Go into some church. I know back in the days when I was at Centennial, I think they used to do midnight runs and different things like that. Get out the walls, man. We got to work. You know what I'm saying? Get our hands dirty. Take a chance.
Right.
We got a lot to offer. The people of God, we supposed to have the answer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we gotta stop talking so much and start working. Really just getting out there, and it doesn't have to be nothing major. It could be once a month. Start small. Some churches are doing some good stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's some churches, they have some food pantries. There are some churches that are out there ministering. But I think if we all got on board, man, and got our hands dirty, we would see a significant change in our community.
Yeah, because what I always had this thought, right? I would assume that in every church, there's probably a teacher in every church, right? It's probably somebody working for social services in every church.
Yeah.
Right, and collectively, and if we knew people, if we wanted more members, right, and we had people in churches, right, that we could, as we meet people on the street that are having these difficulty or these problems, because one of the things I can offer you, I can pray for you. I'm gonna anoint your head with oil and I'm gonna pray for you. But I don't have no food.
Yeah.
I don't have no clothes.
Mm-hmm.
But you just prayed for me,
Mm-hmm.
right? But there was nothing else done, right? So there's no result. I mean, the person just go back to the corner,
Yeah.
right? But if we had collectively
Yeah. Yeah.
where I met somebody and I know Craig, right? I can ask Craig, hey, I met John, he's homeless
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
or he's having issues. I mean, and then these services that are in Westchester County become part of ministry,
Yeah, man.
and because I thought the same thing. If every, if we got an illiteracy problem,
Yeah.
right? A lot of young people can't read, right? And so I was thinking like, probably every church there's a teacher, right? But if we opened up for an hour every
Yeah.
day to help kids learn to read, come over to my church. We're gonna help you to read and help you to comprehend. And think about how many people we're waiting on the Boys and Girls Club who can't. We good. We ain't that good, right? Because we don't have enough staff, right? That will provide the ability to read and to comprehend what you read, to really sit down. I mean, we
Yeah.
should be doing it. Number one, we should be doing it. That's why I do the book of the week, the word of the week, the affirmation, because I want people to know how important it is. I mean, I don't think, even though my mom had those encyclopedias back in the day, and I used to look at them, for the pictures, I didn't engage into the reading aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Even though I think every home had a book. We had a
Uh-huh.
Bible,
Yep.
and we had encyclopedias, and
Yep.
we had
I
the
had a
juniors.
set.
Yeah, we all, but we had nobody to like say, "Hey, man, let me sit down and read this with you." This is important here,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
right? And so, we need to have the ability, and a lot of that we can prevent a lot of homelessness, right? When you look at the data on homelessness and illiteracy,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And we're paying the United States is paying so much money just because we're not getting people educated, the ability to read and comprehend what you read, and so that you can go on and have a job or career,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I mean it's very challenging.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But in our last few minutes here, man, one of the things we connected on was that in next year, Thursday, March the 13th, right? You have Fathering Conference. It's the 10th annual.
Nice. Very nice.
It's the 10th annual annual New York Fathering Conference, empowering fathers, enriching families, transforming communities. It's going to be from 6:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. You guys are part of the sponsors of it. Talk a little bit about the fathering part of this discussion.
Sure. Sure. So the Fathering Conference has been happening for 10 years. And it's really a day of empowering fathers, supporting fathers, teaching fathers. We're going to have a keynote speaker, and then we're going to have breakout sessions. It could be like last year we had sessions on suicide prevention. We had sessions on employment. It could be a session on reentry, those coming out of prisons, getting back into society. So the Fathering Conference is for fathers, father figures, those who are going to be fathers, those who are godfathers, anybody who consider themselves in a role of being able to touch um, children in a fatherly manner. It's for them. I mean, I love it. Every year it's so inspiring to me. It's powerful. That's what I can say about it, man. I mean, we talked a little bit earlier Lowe's, about just the importance of fathers, man. And I don't think that society does a good enough job of saying how important a father is, and getting that message out there. The father's the protector. They're the provider. They help to provide. I mean, they're key. They're key in society. They're key in the family, and we need to support fathers, man. It's a powerful event. I don't miss it. I don't miss it. It's important.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've been talking about this for a long time, man. And of course, my father was in the house, as for a little while he was there, right, and then he wasn't, and the impact of that it had on not only me, right, but my brothers
Yeah,
and my sister as well, and that's why I think one of the things that impacted me as a young man, I always say, man, I don't want to get married if marriage is like this,
yeah,
and then I made a choice to say that, okay, I'm not going to be that type of father, so I wanted to get married. I wanted to have kids, and I wanted to show a different side of what it is to be a father,
yeah,
right? And I wanted to be an example not only for my family, but I think that the impact of us and what we did in regards to our family, I think it impact a lot of our family. When somebody that you look up to, we I don't think we were the oldest. Well, I was the oldest, but when you set an example,
yeah, yeah,
right? And I think a lot of, from my brothers and sisters to all of our cousins, who maybe just were hanging with each other and their significant other,
yeah,
right? A lot of people just started to get married, right? And we're starting to see a lot of fruit, of the impact when somebody can show you an example of what it looks like to be a good father and a good mother,
yeah,
and
yeah,
and good parents who provide for their children.
yeah. It's interesting, Lowe's. I'm reading a book. I'm not a seasoned father like you are. I'm a newer father, so I got to educate myself. And so, reading a book specifically around fathers and daughters, and they talked about the absence of the father, statistically, factually, what happens. And it talked about the increase in mental health concerns for the daughter. It talks about the increase of abuse for children when the father's not present, substance abuse issues, all these negative, that is just factually, they did the research, they did the study when the father's not there. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Self-esteem issues, especially for the daughters when the fathers are not there. So the negative impact that the family experiences when the dad is not there. And guess what? If it impacts the family, it impacts our neighborhood and our community and the world. And I think that's an important message that we don't often hear. The father is in integral. I thank God for the mothers. They held it down and they still holding it down. But dads, we can't forget about the fathers. We can't forget about the important role that they're playing. I had a father and a mom growing up, but there's still some things I do different than my dad. He wasn't affectionate. He wasn't really in my business. He wasn't really, where you going, what you doing, what you thinking, how you feeling. But I'm about that with my kids. I want to know what's going on,
Right.
because I want to be able to interject or intervene if I need to. I don't want nothing coming into my family or coming to hurt my kids or whatever. And that's the role of a father. And it's integral. It is critical. I can't say enough more. I can't say enough about it, man.
Yeah, and it was a good friend of mine. Pastor Tim English. I don't know if you know Tim English, but his wife and has started a program around prisons. I remember doing a little tour with him in the Delaware prisons, and it was a gentleman who was a part of a major convict in the prison system that God had changed his life. I think he professed to be a Muslim, and then eventually he got into it with the chaplain, and he tried to, I don't know, he got into it with the chaplain or something like that, and him and the chaplain ended up becoming best friends. Right? He ended up giving his life to Christ.
Yeah.
Right, and then he ended up getting out. He went from what they call that when he first came in. They put him in where he was alone. Solitary confinement, right? He was in there like his first 10 months. He was in solitary confinement, and when he came, because the guy, I guess when he came in, it was a guy who was there, older gentleman, said, he was mopping. He said, "Take this mop and beat that dude over the head over there," and he unscrewed the mop and he beat that dude over the head. And I mean, he kind of beat him mercifully, but they sent him in first 10 months in solitary confinement. And end up when he came out, one of the reasons that God told him, because this is a guy who changes, he comes in and he gets new convicts, and the whole story of when new convicts come in, so it looked like the older gentleman didn't want him to get in that situation, so that's how he started, right? And then he became a Muslim, and then he became friends with the chaplain after he tried to chase him down and stuff like that. So they became, and then he ended up calling Pastor D, and then he ended up starting to speak in all the prisons.
Yeah.
And they asked me to come. While he was preaching, my responsibility as a former professional athlete was everybody in there. I guess most people in black men. I never seen this many black men since the Man March. I mean, they were all in prison, right? And going through these different jail cells and stuff just to get to these guys, to get to the chapel, man, and then to see them having church like it was Sunday.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And loving the Lord and and stuff like that. My responsibility was to talk to them about while I'm here, right, how do I engage if I have children on the outside to prevent them from coming here, right? And how can I develop a relationship from these prison walls, right, to my significant other and my children, right? Yeah. And you talked about how important it is to find places like Boys and Girls Club and find coaches and mentors and stuff like that, back then. But that was my responsibility to go in there and cause a discussion about simply writing a letter to your significant other, right? Because one of the powers of the gospel is the ability to ask for forgiveness.
Sure.
Right. And then to start to, how do I develop a relationship with my significant other, even if we never get together? Yeah. Again, but how do I engage, become the father that... Absolutely. Right, that was missing in my life. Yeah. How can I become that father to impact that child? Absolutely. Yeah, so it's interesting because there's so many young men, black and brown men, that are in our prison systems. Yeah. Right, and they're going to be coming out. A lot of people are coming out, and you talked about that a little bit, about some of the services that you provide for those who are coming out of prison. Yeah, as well. So, I mean, I think that the conference is going to be powerful. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to being there. And I want to say thank you, man, for joining me and sharing. I know, like, some people say this is not a Christmas message. Yes, it is. It's a Christmas.
People don't have homes to go to.
Yeah, because I mean, when you celebrating Christmas, you celebrating the birth of Christ. Yes. Right. He's the savior of the world. Right. He gave his life. right? And our responsibility is to be Christ-like.
Yes.
Right. And so being Christ-like means that we want to help people.
Yes.
We want to be blessed, but we want to be a blessing too. And we can do that. We can do that during this holiday season while we enjoy our families.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, any final comments or thoughts?
I want to, we're talking about fathers, and I want to share one of the most impactful people that has touched my life. And he was a father figure, and he was a mentor. His name was Porter Benjamin Jr. And this is a guy from Mount Vernon who was in
Vicky Benjamin's dad.
That is, yeah,
Vicky's
Vicky
and
brother.
Roma's his brother. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He passed away a few years ago. He was a guy that did 2 tours in Vietnam. He was a drug dealer. He almost died a few times overdosing. He, just that kind of a person. But God touched him, and he got saved, and he became a pastor. And he ministered to so many young people. He was not my biological father, but he was my spiritual father, and he was a powerful. He spoke into my life and helped me in a journey, my journey through in faith and in life that impacts me till this day. And he's gone 3 years. And so that man, he was the epitome of a father figure. He told it like it was, because he didn't come from, he was just like, he was military. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But he gave it to you in love and in a way that's going to last. And that's the kind of fathers that I aspire to be there, man. You got to get into these kids' heart. You know what I'm saying? You got to know what's going on. And so that's really what we're striving for, is to encourage fathers to be a father. Like you said, Lowe's, if you ain't been around your kids for years, you've been locked up, reach out, man. Just keep reaching out. There's some resentments there. There's some people speaking some bad stuff about you, but keep plugging, man. Something's going to break, because really they want that father. They want you there. They miss that thing. That father's integral, so we just going to keep pressing on, man. And doing what God tell us to do, ministering and doing what we're here to do.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you taking the time out. Yeah, and hopefully you will have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas.
I will. Thank you. Thank you. Same to you guys.
All right, and to each and every one of you out there listening to us this evening, I want to thank you for your support of the Blueprint Podcast, man. You guys know I love you, right? And I'm truly grateful for your support of the Blueprint. I look forward to seeing you next week. May God bless you. And I say this every week: if God allow you to wake up tomorrow, make tomorrow your masterpiece.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Lowe's More, the Blueprint Podcast. Stay connected and follow us at our website, www.lowesmore.com. That's LOWESMOORE.com. You can also join the discussion on Twitter at Lowe's More and on Facebook at Lowe's More Jr. As always, thank you for pushing your mindset towards a better reality. This concludes the most thought-provoking portion of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast to stay fully up to date with everything we're up to. Until next time, be kind to yourself and each other.
Vacation is a joke, I ain't buying it like I'm broke. Insufficient funds for insignificant.